In this video, we're going to be taking a look at subtracting decimals, and the essential question that needs to be unlocked is how can place value help you subtract decimals? Now I want you to turn to page 139 in your Go Math book, and let's look at unlocking this problem. Okay, now the problem that we have is Hannah has 3 and 336 hundredths kilograms of apples and 2 and 28 hundredths kilograms of oranges. Hannah estimates she has about 1 more kilogram of apples and oranges. How many more kilograms of apples than oranges does Hannah have? How can you use this estimate to decide if your answer is reasonable? Okay, so the first thing we need to figure out is what operation when we use, we're going to use subtraction. Okay, whenever you're trying to figure out how many more of, for example, apples to oranges that you have, okay, you want to use subtraction. And we can see that Hannah's estimated answer, and I want you to circle that 1 there. Okay, however, to get the exact answer, we need to subtract 3 and 36 hundredths minus 2 and 28 hundredths. Okay, so the first thing that we need to do is we cannot take 8 away from 6. Okay, so what we need to do, we need to take 1/10. Okay, change that 3 and regroup it, and add 10 hundredths to my 6, making it 16 hundredths now. Okay, now you can take, and let me just show you this here, 16 hundredths minus 8 hundredths. You can see 16 minus 8 is going to give me 8. Okay, now we have 2/10 here. Minus 2/10 is going to give me 0/10. You bring your decimal down, and then we have 3 ones minus 2 ones is just going to give me 1. All right, so we have for our answer 1 and 8 hundredths. Now if we want to draw a quick picture just to check our work, what we can do, first of all, to represent 3, let me just erase this here, 3 and 36 hundredths, and I want you to write this down. We have 3 squares representing the whole number. Okay, 3 lines representing the 3/10, and then 6 ones. 6 hundredths. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, now we're taking 2 and 28 hundredths away from this. So first of all, we need to take away 8 hundredths. We cannot do that because there's only 6. I'm going to use a different color of ink to represent this. So we need to borrow, or we need to regroup. So we're going to cancel out that 10th, and we're going to add 10 hundredths from that 1/10. There's 9, and then there's 10. Okay, now what we need to do is take away 8 of these. All right, so we need to take away 8 hundredths, and I'll use black for this. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 total. Okay, taken away. So that means we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hundredths. Okay, now we need to take away 2 tenths. So take away these 2. 1, 2. Okay, so we don't have any tenths at all. And then take away 2 ones. 1, 2. And then we have 1, 1. All right, so 1 and 8 hundredths. Okay, we checked our answer, so we know that Hannah has 1 and 8 hundredths more kilograms of apples and oranges. Okay, so we see since 1 and 8 hundredths is close to 1, the answer is reasonable. In other words, if we're getting 108 or 10,000 or whatever, that answer would not be reasonable, but the 1 and 8 hundredths is a reasonable answer. Okay, taking a look at page 140 in your book, using addition to check, So since subtraction and addition are inverse operations, you can check subtraction by adding. Okay, so the first thing that we can do is find the difference. We want to subtract the hundredths first. Okay, so what we would do with this, since it's 14 and 2 tenths minus 8 and 63 hundredths, we will actually put a 0 there where to the right of the 2. Then we can subtract. So we need to regroup because we cannot take 3 away from 0. So now we have 10 hundredths minus 3 hundredths is going to give us 7 hundredths. I want you to write this down. You cannot take 6 tenths away from 1 tenth, so you need to regroup. So we're going to make that 3, take 1 away from that 4, making it into a 3, and bring 10 over to the tenths place. So we have 11 tenths minus 6 tenths is 5 tenths. Drop your decimal down. You cannot take 8 away from 3, so we need to regroup. Make that 1 into a 0, and then bring 10 more ones over to the tens or the ones place. 13 minus 8 is 5, for a total of 5 and 57 hundredths. Now in order to check your answer, you want to add the difference to the number that you subtracted. Okay, so we have our difference, which is 5, and that's just the answer to a subtraction problem, and 57 hundredths. Alright, so what we do now is we add this together. 7 and 3 is 10. Put my 0, carry my 1. 1 and 5 is 6, plus another 6 is 12. Put my 2 there, carry my 1. 1 and 5 is 6, plus 8 is 14, for 14 and 20 hundredths. Okay, so whenever you check it, this answer, your sum, should equal the number that you subtracted from, 14 and 20 hundredths. So that's a way to check your work. So we're going to take a look at some problems together. And this is on the bottom of page 140. We have 5 and 83 hundredths minus 2 and 18 hundredths. The first thing we want to do is estimate. You take that 5 and 83 hundredths, make it into a 6. The 2 and 18 hundredths can stay a 2. So 6 minus 2 is going to equal 4. And then from here we can subtract. Okay, you cannot take 8 hundredths from 3 hundredths, so we need to regroup. Make that 8 into a 7. Change that 3 hundredths into 13 hundredths now. 13 minus 8 is 5. And now 7 minus 1 is 6. Bring the decimal point down. 5 minus 2 gives me 3 for 3 and 65 hundredths. Now let's take a look at the next one. 4 and 45 hundredths minus 1 and 86 hundredths. I'm going to change that, or round that 4 and 45 hundredths to a 4. 1 and 86 hundredths to a 2. So our estimated answer is 2, which will help guide us to make sure that our answer is reasonable. Okay, now we subtract 5 minus 6 hundredths. You cannot do that, so you need to regroup. Take a tenths, bring it over to the hundredths, so you'll make that 5 into a 15 now. 6 minus 15 is 9. We cannot take 8 tenths from 3 tenths, so we need to borrow. Making that 13 tenths now. 13 minus 8 is 5. Bring the decimal down. 3 minus 1 is 2 for 2 and 59 hundredths. Okay, the final problem we will do together. 4 and 3 hundredths minus 2 and 25 hundredths. That 4 and 3 hundredths will be a 4. 2 and 25 hundredths will be a 2. 4 minus 2 is 2. And then from here we'll subtract. 5 minus 3, you cannot do that, so you need to regroup. So you cannot take anything from 0, so we need to go all the way over to the ones place. Make that into a 3. Change that 0 now to a 10. Now that we've changed that 0 into a 10 tenths, we need to borrow a tenth. making that 10 into a 9 now. Bringing a tenth over to the hundredths, making this 13 hundredths. 13 hundredths minus 5 hundredths is 8 hundredths. 9 minus 9 tenths minus 2 tenths is 7 tenths. And 3 ones minus 2 ones is 1 1. For 1 and 78 hundredths, we know it's a reasonable answer because it's close to our estimate. Now I want you to work through this problem all by yourself. When you're finished, you can press play and I will have the answer for you. So pause the video now. So we have the answer of 14 and 55 hundredths. Let's take a look at the next one. 7 and 3 tenths minus 5 and 4 tenths. Work through this problem. When you're finished, you can press play. I will have the answer for you. Pause the video now. Okay, now you have the answer of 1 and 9 tenths. Next problem. 21 and 4 tenths minus 16 and 97 hundredths. Work through this problem. When you're finished, press play. I will have the answer for you. Pause the video now. Okay, now we have the answer of 4 and 43 hundredths. So if you're not getting these correct, you may need to rewind the video and watch a couple of my examples. Okay, I want you to take a look at the test prep problem on the bottom of page 142. I want you to work through this problem at your seat all by yourself. When you're finished, you can press play and I will have the answer for you. So pause the video now. Okay, here's the answer, letter D. And wrapping up the video, how can place value help you subtract decimals? Aligning the place values helps me subtract hundredths from hundredths, tenths from tenths, ones from ones, and so on. It is very, very important whenever you subtract decimals that you always line up that decimal point. So if you have any questions about subtracting decimals, please come and see me.